You know, most people get the definition of pseudoscience wrong. I was surprised to find that out myself. I thought pseudoscience was something that was definitively not real, definitively not proven, yet was being parroted as the truth. But the actual definition of pseudoscience is anything that detracts from the mainstream accepted knowledge base. Wait, what? Think about that for a minute. That actually inhibits the idea of scientific thought. That inhibits intellectualism, because anything that's not what we said the rules are is not right, even if it's never been disproven. So the fact is, pseudoscience does not have to be disproven. It's literally the equivalent of fake news. It's the fake news of the information and knowledge of the world. The pseudoscience should be something that's definitively been shown not to. Because you know what every scientist fails to acknowledge is crucial for any scientific development to happen? They have to take a leap of faith. They have to believe that what they're seeing with their eyes is something more than just a one-off occurrence, and keep testing it over and over and over again. Because how could you ever get to a scientific discover something new, if you were so sure that it was the way? Because if anything, that sounds like pseudoscience. Pseudoscience does not have to be something that's been disproven. It just has to be something that is not the mainstream. How do you get something tested that academics will not touch because they won't get funding? Because we live in a bureaucratic system that actually benefits the person who's creating this mess. You know? How do you get something tested that academics don't want to touch because they will not get funded, and that the government won't fund because they know they can't disprove it? You don't. You get something that you just call a pseudoscience. Anyone who actually likes science knows that the basic core part of science is refining. Science is the idea that you see something observable, you notice it, you write it down, you notate it, and then you try again and again to replicate it. And if you keep replicating it to the same or very close results over and over and over like maybe 1,000 times, it becomes knowledge, it becomes truth, it becomes science. You know what's crazy? You ever been through the book section of what they call pseudoscience or esoteric teachings, and have you ever realized that so many different groups and so many different authors all come to the same conclusion, despite the fact that they've never talked to each other, never interacted, have never commingled, but independently did their own research, not an institutional research, because they didn't get funding, and came to these same results over and over and over. But that's a pseudoscience. So is the definition of pseudoscience anything the government won't fund and the government tells you isn't the fact? Because wouldn't you consider those separate trials of experiment? And how could something be confirmation bias if there is actually no definitive facts to disprove it? So when I'm giving you evidence, you're saying that I'm utilizing confirmation bias, but you have nothing to say why what I believe, what I think, what has been shown through different independent things that were not funded by the government or giant institutions is fake. That's not a pseudoscience. Sounds like you're the one doing confirmation bias. Because gaslighting can go both ways, okay? The ironic part is that if these things are so definitively fake, not science like you say, shouldn't you just put down the goddamn money to show that they aren't? Do some tests? But you don't. I wonder why. If you caught everything you didn't know as pseudoscience, you would never actually think outside the box. But I think that's the point. Because why does so much funding go into DARPA projects to learn how social conditioning works, how social engineering works, how people are more likely to fall into kind of a goat kind of pattern or sheep and follow blindly and have fears of, being rejected? There's a lot of money that's gone into how emotional people are and how people don't like being ostracized. Imagine if you literally ostracized anyone who had independent thought and called them a conspiracy theorist or a pseudoscientist. I bet that would be effective. And it's interesting that more money went into that than ever went into disproving these pseudoscientists. Oh, and what's this up here? It's a pseudoscience of all the planets where they were when 6 people were born from negative 83 BCE to 1991, and they all kind of line up in perfect conjunction, or they line up exactly in pairs between who I think are the twin souls, with their counterpart on the exact day that they were born. But this is pseudoscience, right? This got no merit. If it did, somebody would fund it, right? Anyways, if you're interested, there's more shit like this on my page.